Have you ever wondered why so many people seem to fade after turning 80? Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, like the light inside them starts to dim. Most folks think it's just genetics or maybe just plain luck. You hit 80 and your health starts sliding downhill. Inevitable, right? But what if that wasn't the whole story? The truth is, there are deeper, more hidden reasons why some people don't thrive past 80, and they're not what you might expect. It's not just about your diet, exercise, or whether you smoked in your 40s. In this video, we're going to uncover 5 powerful but often overlooked reasons that can quietly steal your strength, your spark, and your sense of self in the years after 80. And the good news, once you understand them, you can do something about them. So stay with me, because it's never too late to change the way you age.
Let me ask you something simple but important. When was the last time you had a casual chat with a stranger, waved at your neighbor, laughed with the cashier at your local grocery store? These little moments, they may not seem like much, but they're powerful. They're what experts call micro-social engagement, tiny interactions that quietly nourish the human spirit. And here's the thing, as we age, especially after 80, these micro-moments often start to disappear. Not because we choose loneliness, but because life slowly rearranges itself around us. Maybe we stop going to the store and start ordering groceries online. Maybe our hearing isn't as sharp, so conversations feel frustrating. Maybe the sidewalks feel too cold, too slippery, or just too far. And so, we stay in. We stay safe. But slowly, quietly, we also become invisible. Those brief smiles, nods, and light-hearted exchanges aren't just friendly gestures. They're signals to the brain. You're connected. You belong. You matter. When these interactions fade, something else fades with them. Our vitality. You see, the brain is a social organ. It depends on connection to stay sharp. And when that connection is lost, the brain responds almost like it's under attack. Stress hormones rise, inflammation increases, immunity weakens. Even memory and emotional regulation start to decline, because the parts of the brain responsible for these functions begin to shrink from lack of stimulation. It's not dramatic, it's not sudden, but it's very real. And here's the heartbreaking part. Most people don't even realize it's happening. They think they're just simplifying life, trimming the unnecessary. But those so-called unnecessary moments, they're actually medicine, microdoses of meaning. I once knew a man in his 80s, lived alone, never married. But every morning, without fail, he'd walk down to the same corner cafe. He didn't go for the coffee. He went because he knew the barista's name. Because he'd see the same 3 people walking their dogs. Because for 5 minutes, he wasn't just existing, he was seen. And you know what? He never forgot their names. He stayed sharp, mobile, and emotionally grounded far longer than others his age. That's not a coincidence. That's what daily connection does. It anchors you to the world.
So, if you found yourself going days without a real conversation, if you stopped chatting with strangers or even just exchanging pleasantries, it might be time to change that. Because these interactions, however brief, remind your brain that you're still alive, still part of something bigger than your 4 walls. And that message, sent quietly through smiles and small talk, can be the difference between fading and thriving. So don't underestimate the power of saying good morning or asking your neighbor how their garden is doing. Don't underestimate the power of being seen. Even if it's just for a moment, it counts. Let me ask you something that might sound familiar. Have you ever stopped doing something, not because you couldn't, but because you were afraid something might happen? Maybe it was walking down a steep driveway. Maybe it was reaching for that top shelf. Or maybe it was just stepping out for a stroll after a rainy day. This kind of caution usually starts with good intentions. And honestly, it makes sense. Maybe you slipped once, or had a close call that shook your confidence. So you decide, I'll take it easy. I won't risk it again. But over time, that kind of thinking can quietly trap you. Because the truth is, the body isn't like a car that runs better when parked. It's more like a garden. It needs movement. It needs tending. Without it, things don't just stay the same. They begin to fade. One of the first places this shows up is in your core, the deep muscles that support your posture, balance, and everyday strength. When those muscles go unused, even for a few weeks, they begin to shrink. And when they shrink, you wobble more. You get tired faster. You start to avoid even more movement. It becomes a cycle, a quiet spiral downward. Let me tell you about Franklin Moore. He was 82. One rainy afternoon, he slipped while walking in his neighborhood. No broken bones, just a scare. But that was enough. He stopped walking altogether. 6 months later, he had lost 10 pounds of muscle. His legs felt like jelly. He no longer felt steady, even just walking from the living room to the kitchen. And here's the key. Franklin Moore didn't stop walking because he was weak. He became weak because he stopped walking. That's the part many people miss. Now, I'm not saying you should ignore real risks. Using handrails, wearing supportive shoes, clearing clutter, those are smart steps. Even using a cane isn't giving in. It's adapting wisely. But there's a difference between managing risk and surrendering to fear. Because when fear calls the shots, your body starts forgetting how to move. So ask yourself, have I been doing less, not because I can't, but because I'm afraid of what might happen? If so, it's time to gently challenge that. Because movement is more than just motion. It's communication. It tells your brain, your heart, your immune system, I'm still here. I'm still needed. And that message? It can keep you going longer than any supplement ever could.
Let's talk about something you may not feel, but your body absolutely notices.
Light. Not the kind from your phone or your TV or that bright ceiling lamp. I'm talking about natural light. The kind that comes through your window in the morning or hits your skin when you step outside under a clear sky. As we get older, especially after 80, our body's internal clock becomes incredibly sensitive. This clock, called your circadian rhythm, controls nearly everything. Your sleep, your energy, your digestion, even how your brain heals itself overnight. But here's the problem. Most of us don't get the light we need when we need it. And we're often exposed to too much of the wrong light when our body needs rest. Think about it. When was the last time you got outside early in the morning and let the sun hit your skin, even for 5 minutes? Or how often do you stay up late watching TV with all the lights on? These habits may seem harmless, but over time they confuse your body's rhythm. Morning sunlight acts like a reset button. It tells your brain, wake up, it's time to be alert. It kickstarts your metabolism, boosts your energy, and helps regulate hormones like cortisol and serotonin. But without that morning light, your body struggles to sync up. You may start feeling sluggish, groggy, or even moody, despite getting 8 hours of sleep. Then at night, artificial light, especially blue light from screens, tells your body the opposite of what it needs to hear. Instead of winding down, your brain stays active. It delays the release of melatonin, the sleep hormone, and you may find yourself lying awake at midnight, staring at the ceiling, wondering why you're still not tired. And it's not just about sleep. Disrupted circadian rhythms are now linked to lower immunity, higher inflammation, and even faster cognitive decline. Plus, there's the vitamin D factor. After 80, our skin becomes less efficient at producing vitamin D, even when we do get sun. So regular exposure to natural daylight becomes even more critical. Low vitamin D doesn't just affect bones. It weakens muscles and can impair your immune system, leaving you more vulnerable to illness and fatigue. Let me share a story. Eleanor James, 84, had been feeling off for months. She wasn't sleeping well. She felt foggy and unusually tired during the day. Her lab results were fine, diet unchanged, no new medications. Her doctor made a simple suggestion. Every morning, sit by a sunny window for at least 20 minutes. And in the evening, turn off all screens an hour before bed. That was it. Within 2 weeks, Eleanor James's sleep improved. Her memory felt sharper. And for the first time in months, no pill, no complex treatment, just light, used the right way at the right time. So if you've been spending most of your time indoors or keeping your curtains drawn, if your nights are lit by the glow of a phone or television, I encourage you to make a small shift. Get outside within an hour of waking, even if it's just sitting on your porch. Let that natural light hit your eyes and skin. And at night, dim the lights, turn off screens early. Let your body prepare for rest. Because your body doesn't just get older from wear and tear, it gets older when its systems fall out of sync. And restoring your daily rhythm is one of the simplest, most powerful ways to bring your body back into harmony. Even at 85 years old, your body wants to follow a schedule. It wants to wake up with purpose and wind down with peace. Let light be your guide. Because sometimes, the best medicine is already shining through your window. Let's talk about something we don't often talk about. Something quiet, heavy, and deeply human. Grief. By the time someone reaches their 80s, they've often carried more loss than most people can imagine. A spouse, a best friend, a sibling, sometimes even a child. These aren't just names in an obituary. They're people who shaped our lives, who shared decades of memories, laughter, routines, love. And yet, for many older adults, there's a subtle pressure to move on, to stay strong, to smile politely when others say, "You must be used to it by now." But here's the truth. No one ever really gets used to it. You may learn to live with the silence, but that doesn't mean the pain disappears. In fact, when grief isn't expressed, when it's swallowed day after day, year after year, it doesn't just vanish. It finds a home inside the body. Unspoken sorrow can affect your sleep, your digestion, your immune system. It changes your hormone levels. It keeps your nervous system in a constant state of quiet tension. You might look fine on the outside, but inside, your body is carrying a weight it was never meant to hold alone. Let me tell you about Arthur Bennett. He was 86, lost his wife of 60 years. He didn't cry much, said it wasn't his way, said he was doing all right. But over the next year, something changed. He stopped going to the senior center, stopped eating as much, had trouble sleeping. He began to fade, not because of illness, but because his grief had no place to go. You see, emotional pain doesn't need to be dramatic to be damaging, and by the time it shows up in the body, fatigue, tension, or illness, we often don't realize it started as unspoken sorrow. What keeps people going well past 80 isn't just strong bones or a healthy heart. It's the ability to feel and to release what's inside. That could mean talking to a friend who really listens. It might be writing in a journal, or praying, or sharing memories with a support group. Sometimes it's sitting with a therapist who helps you unpack the emotions you've carried quietly for decades. Whatever form it takes, the principle is the same. What gets expressed can be transformed. What gets buried tends to linger and hurt. So if you've been holding something in, not because you want to, but because you didn't know where to put it, this may be your sign to make space for it. Because the heart can only carry so much before it quietly starts to shut down. And if you want to live well past 80, not just surviving, but truly living, you have to let it feel. Grief isn't weakness. It's love that hasn't found a place to land yet. Give it that space. Give it a voice. Because healing doesn't happen in silence. It happens in connection. Let me ask you something gentle but meaningful. When you wake up in the morning, do you have something to look forward to? I'm not talking about a grand mission or life-changing goal. I'm talking about the small things. Watering your plants before the sun gets too hot, feeding the cat that always waits at your door, writing a birthday card to your granddaughter, or just sitting at the window to watch the world go by. These may seem simple, even ordinary, but they carry extraordinary power. As we grow older, especially beyond 80, we don't always lose health because of sickness. Sometimes we lose it because we lose our reason to move. And when that happens, something inside us begins to go quiet. The appetite fades. The body slows down. The systems that once regulated energy, digestion, even healing, they begin to power down. Not because they're broken, but because they're waiting for a reason to turn back on. This shift is so subtle, most people miss it. Maybe your book club stopped meeting. Maybe your favorite volunteer role ended when your knees got stiff. Maybe the family doesn't visit as often, or the routine you loved for decades slowly slipped away, without you even noticing. Suddenly, the days start to blend together. Mornings feel aimless. Evenings feel hollow. But let me tell you about Mildred Hayes. She was 88, living alone, modest income, and not in perfect health. But you'd never guess it by looking at her. Every Monday, she wrote postcards to shut-ins from her church. Every Thursday, she cooked a big pot of soup and froze portions for a local shelter. And every afternoon at 4 p.m., she sat by her window to wave at the neighborhood kids walking home from school. They waved back. They knew her name, and she knew theirs. That rhythm, those little anchors throughout the week, they gave her life shape. They gave her soul rhythm. They reminded her that she mattered. Because that's the secret no one talks about. The body stays alive as long as it believes it's needed. Purpose, no matter how small, fuels healing, strength, and longevity. It tells your brain to keep learning. It tells your heart to keep beating with meaning. It gives every cell a reason to wake up and try again. So if you've been feeling like your days are losing shape, if the quiet has grown a little too loud, this might be the time to ask, what small thing can I do each day that gives me a reason to rise? It could be planting something, calling someone, feeding the birds, praying, writing, smiling at the mailman. It's not about productivity, it's about presence. Because at the end of the day, longevity isn't just about how long your heart keeps beating. It's about whether your heart wants to keep beating. And that, my friend, starts with purpose, even the kind that fits in the palm of your hand. Aging doesn't happen all at once. It's not a cliff you fall off after your 80th birthday. It's a slow, quiet fading. of rhythms, routines, and reasons to engage with life. For most people, decline doesn't come in a dramatic moment. It happens in the little choices, the silent shifts. The day you stop walking to the store, the morning you no longer open the curtains, the moment you stop reaching out, or stop feeling needed. But here's the beautiful part. Just as this fading happens gradually, so does the path back to vitality. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. All it takes is one small change. One conversation with a neighbor. One walk around the block. One daily ritual that gives your day shape and meaning. Let's quickly remember the 5 quiet reasons many people begin to fade after 80. 1. The loss of everyday social moments that keep us feeling connected. 2. The overcaution that slowly steals our strength. 3. The disruption of our body's natural rhythm due to light and sleep patterns. 4. The grief we hold in silence, never giving it space to heal. 5. And the quiet erosion of daily purpose, those small, grounding reasons to wake up each day. If one of those felt familiar to you, don't ignore it. Pick one, just one, and take a small, gentle step toward change today. Because here's the truth. You may not be able to stop aging, but you absolutely have the power to change how you age. And sometimes, the smallest act of presence, a smile, a stretch, a phone call, isn't just movement. It's resistance. It's resilience. It's life choosing to keep going. So wherever you are today, don't fade away quietly. Age like you still matter, because you do. If one of these 5 reasons made you stop and think, share in the comments. Which one resonated with you most? And what small change will you start today? I read every comment. Your story matters. If this video was helpful, give it a like and share it with someone you care about. And don't forget to subscribe to VitalAge Health for more inspiring videos on aging and wellness. Let's live longer and live with more meaning.